And I guess another very, very exciting game mode that is just around the corner is Deadman mode. and
Deadman mode. Oh my god.
And this time it seems Jagex is catering a lot to PVMers, like compared to previous versions. They're bringing in brand new PVM mechanics where 3 times a day a breach opens up somewhere around the game, and all the bosses that come out of the breach have very juicy loot. And there's gonna be notification on your screen where the breach is happening, and basically you can choose to like risk it all and go hunt the bosses or play it safe. Then on the final day, breaches across all the map open up, and it's gonna be an absolute chaos. So what are your thoughts about this? Because I've talked with a few PKers about Deadman, and despite the fact that Jagex is like they're trying to get towards a bigger player base, I want to say, it seems that they're leaving the PKers out a little bit, or like the PKers seem kind of upset because their version of so-called leagues is being watered down with all of this PVM activity, and even the fact that Jagex decided to remove the 1 versus 1 at the end, and it's just gonna be an all-out brawl. Like, do you think this will like revitalize Deadman mode, or is like the fundamental of the game mode so different that it should stay like it is?
It depends if I'm answering from a selfish perspective of enjoying it as much as possible.
Be as selfish as you want, man.
Or answering in what I think is the best way to try and get as many people playing, which I think is a route that they're definitely going down, trying to get more people involved in it, because obviously more people playing something means that there's more of a reason to do it in the future, right?
Yes.
So let's start off with the breaches. I think the breaches are a phenomenal idea. Like the best thing they could have possibly done in Deadman mode are the breaches, because it creates that ecosystem that PKers love of the food chain and all that sort of stuff. I hope that they're crazy and something that we genuinely have never sort of seen before and are difficult to solve and all these things, because that will give people more of an incentive to go to them and experience the fun of them. But it's so hard to tell until they actually come out. But breaches are so good because it creates that watering hole effect hotspot 3 times a day. So I play as part of a clan in Deadman mode, and I know that everyone is going to be on TeamSpeak like, oh, the breach is 1 hour, boys. Like, let's like gear up. It's going to be super fun to go to the breach and like fight people and kill the bosses and all that sort of thing.
First of all, do people still use TeamSpeak?
Yeah, Blazer still use TeamSpeak.
Okay, that sounded so 2009. I'm sorry. So basically, the breach is a good idea, but do you agree that Deadman mode, what used to be completely PvP, is now oriented towards PVM players and everyone else?
Yeah, Deadman's got more and more casual every round, way more casual. When you think about what it used to be, the tournament used to be 1 week, 1 world. You lose XP if you're skulled, unskulled. We don't give a shit. Fuck you. It's genuinely super brutal. You didn't have any stars packs, you didn't have any hand holding. The XP rates were lower. And I loved that because it was a super competitive environment. Yes, not mass appeal, but I think that was the purest and best form of Deadman from a sweaty player perspective. But then they've taken this approach of they have tried to get more people into playing it. But it's really difficult to get the average person to play Deadman, because at the heart of it, you can kill anyone anywhere, and that's just the reason that 90% of people never want to log in. That's an unsolvable issue. If you solve that issue, you have a league.
Exactly.
And they're always fighting that uphill battle. So the selfish part of me wishes they would lean into the more competitive side and embrace the clans and the 1,000 people that will always log into Deadman no matter what. But I understand why they don't, because, well, guess what? Those 1,000 people are going to log into Deadman Apocalypse anyway, so there's no real point in catering towards them. They're trying to get some more people involved. And you absolutely can have a lot of fun in Deadman mode if you are a casual type player.
Agree.
You just sort of you have to just approach. I think it's a mindset thing of you've just got to approach it of you're playing a survival game mode, get in, get out, and maybe even just playing just a swap GP out of Deadman mode can be incredibly fun. I did that when I didn't have as much time to play when I was at university. I used to do rune crafting and pyramid and all that sort of stuff. Just seeing how the economy evolves, fresh economy is always enjoyable. It's a tough one because I don't think it's ever going to have the mass appeal that it did back in 2015.
One thing I do agree is that doesn't matter which game mode it is, whether it's leagues, whether it's like even back in the day, like things like skill of the week, whether it's Deadman mode, everything all together.
Yo, skill of the week, that's a blast from the past. Right?
Oh man, that was like, do you remember the cheating scandals that happened there? I don't know.
Yeah, half. I competed in it, and half the people got banned for cheating.
Oh, every time like leagues happen and you hear or you see the top 25 high scores and they slowly disappear one by one because they're account sharing. Oh, that is so juicy to see, man.
I mean, but that's another reason why I don't like, I compete for the first week or so on the high scores, but then I don't do it beyond that because you're competing against people that are cheating, and there are people that are cheating that get caught, and there are people that are cheating that still end up on the high scores by the end of the league. So that's a massive reason not to do it because
unless you're on, I'm not gonna say it out loud, on some substance and you play like 20 hours a day, that's another thing. But you know, at that point you're thinking like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I playing this pixelated temporary game mode for 20 hours a day? But yeah, like getting back to the previous point, I think every game mode we've ever had, no matter what it is, it always had like an identity crisis. It didn't know what it wanted to be. Do I want this to be competitive? Do I want it to be for like casual players? Because during leagues you have trophies, which means by default they are competitive. In Deadman mode you have cash prize, so by default it has to be competitive because you can win money, right? At the same time, they're also trying to implement mechanics or things that are meant for casual players. So you have this like watered down version of the game mode where you're trying to satisfy everyone. But I think they definitely should more cater towards one identity. Do we want it to make competitive or do we want it to make casual? That's it. And if they find that out, then the game mode immediately becomes so much better.
Because the problem with that. So I'd say leagues is the casual one. Absolutely, and it's catered towards casual people. The problem is the people that play Elite, there are always going to be competitive people that turn everything competitive, no matter what. Even if there are no trophies, there's high scores.
Good example is Fresh Start
Worlds and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I think they've got the balance right with the leagues personally. Deadman is a harder sell because it's competitive at its core in terms of you can attack anyone anywhere. So I think maybe they should lean more into the competitiveness, but I don't know. It's difficult. Yeah.
Okay, so Jagex hired Mod Manked, who is the so-called, I want to say, wilderness expert. Is that what you would call it? I don't know. But basically, he won previous versions of Deadman, and is now Jagex moderator, who will also design this version of Deadman modes. Do you think it's gonna be up to the task? That's what I want to ask you.
Oh yeah, I played in the same clan as Manked, and I've known him for years, so I have my full faith in him to like. He's so passionate and good at like, design, and he has played the game in a lot of ways, so he can consider a lot of the problems that might come up, and that is reflected in the way he's designed Deadman Apocalypse. The only thing is though, there's no right way of doing something, so everyone's always going to have a different opinion. Even in the PvP community, opinion is massively split about what you should do about each update, because there's not a precedent set for a lot of the decisions you're making. I probably disagree with Manked about certain things, and I think he's pretty much had full reign over Deadman Apocalypse. So for example, I hate that there are going to be corrupted items in Deadman Apocalypse because I think it devalues the rest of the game. I mean, and I gave that feedback, people gave that feedback, and now they've been nerfed to be lesser versions, which I'm a fan of, but I think they should just get rid of them entirely. I don't like Sigils being in Deadman mode. I think they should just focus on a few core features of a league of a Deadman mode. So it's not, if you're trying to cater to the average person, it has to be simple to understand. And when you have so many different extra weird things going on, 6 factors to consider, so much more complicated, and it's just not casual friendly at all. Like, I'd appreciate if they did just go more competitive, then yeah, fine, but that's a massive problem in my opinion, and that could be solved with getting rid of a few of the elements of this next Deadman mode, like the corrupted weapons, like the sigils. Just focus on the breaches. It's so striking when so I'm currently making a video about Deadman for Jagex, and I went back and I was reading the old blog posts. And the day that Deadman mode got released, there's a post that goes up and it's 1 A4 page of text. It's basically nothing. You can attack everyone anywhere. If you kill somebody, you get the stuff from their bank and the things that are on them, and you lose XP if you die. That's it. Simple to understand. I know it's the first version, so obviously thousands of people are going to play. But I just think if you want something with mass appeal, you have to get back to a level of simplicity that Shattered Relics definitely missed. I think Last Deadman was not actually that widely played, so I think it also missed it in some respects as well. And this one might do. I don't know, we'll see.
I think this will have more people than normal, but yeah, I agree on the point where it's not even like about Deadman or leaks or like the news posts always seem to me that they either have no information or they have too much information. I've yet to see like a balance. Like let's say good example right now is sailing. They made so many news posts, so many videos, so many everything about them, and they finally realized that hey, how about we just make like a 10-minute video that explains 10,000 words, if that makes sense. Because like the news post, I read through all of them because I have no life and I love this game, but I imagine like a casual player, they kind of give up on the first paragraph of a news post because they're so freaking long and nobody wants to read like a freaking manual every time they see a new news post, you know. So I think they finally started to kind of crack in that sense where, you know, instead of making this long ass post, why don't we just make like an 8-minute video where everything is explained? Because everybody's at YouTube anyways, you know, everybody's gonna watch rather that video. You saw that like, I think the sailing video has like 20,000, 30,000 views, which is really good for like that standard. I bet that's a lot more than the amount of people that read the news post from start to finish.
I think more detail is better because it allows for very good feedback. So I appreciate that they do write the gigantic essays on the news posts, and especially when there's so many factors to consider with something like Deadman mode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think
I agree on the Deadman mode. It's just that when it comes to
and
bold stuff,
yeah.
like Deadman mode isn't bold, which is good that you have this detailed news post, right? Because then you understand everything. But things like the quality of life updates that are bold, I think they should be like concrete information with few sentences as possible. And once it's implemented, we can go into details.
Like I said, I'm on the side of more detail being better because it allows for the
Me too.
feedback that then tailors the suggestion and the poll question. Because otherwise, you end up with things that get polled and then they could just pass, and there's just actually no one. I don't know. It just no one actually wants it in the way that it's coming. Well,
Yeah.
it just provides a good safety net around the feedback, I think.
We're getting off topic already.
Yeah.
Let's get back to Deadman mode. So you were mentioning about the different systems we're gonna have in Deadman modes. I wanna go over a few of them. Like let's start with the combat brackets. I wanna say it's a big change this time around, but we saw it in the previous Deadman tournament. But basically combat brackets. In the previous tournament, there was some really easy methods to bypass those combat restrictions, either by dying on purpose, losing experience, and stuff like that. But this time, you're kind of locked in, and every combat bracket will have their own worlds, which means players need to get more creative with their batting, and they need to be more creative with the challenges they face, and so much more. I do wonder one thing: if they're gonna make it so that everyone can log into all the 5 worlds, does that mean that it's more beneficial to stay at worlds where there's less players, or are you just logged in randomly? Because like I mentioned, like the last player to survive wins $1,000, right? So to improve your odds, you kind of want to go to a world that has less players in it, which means your chances of winning are higher. Does that make sense?
Well, realistically, it's going to be 5 clans, 5 worlds, and they're just going to go in each one, I would imagine.
5 clans, 5 worlds.
And then they just win by default, which I think is super like boring and uninteresting. So I was a fan of the other system, but that everyone thought it would possibly be, but isn't.
So what you're saying is that once again, solo players have no chance to win.
Not necessarily, because it depends on the mechanics of the ending. Because if it's just a mass multi brawl, being in a clan or being in solo, I know it sounds really counterintuitive, but it's really not that different when everyone's just standing on top of each other. You can just get inside the opposite, like a big pile of people if you just run in at the last second. And in that setting, if it's not the players fighting to the death, the gas starts hitting you, there are monsters hitting you and stuff, I think a solo player can definitely have a chance of winning. Obviously, it's less likely than an organized group of people, because once you get down to 10 people left, then if there's 3 of your boys, we'll be like, well, get this guy, get this guy, get this guy. It really depends on the mechanics of the final.
It's gonna be an absolute chaos. I can already feel it. Like, imagine you have like Chats, God Wars bosses, all of them in like Falador or something like that, and everyone's trying to survive. I guess it also depends if the last area is multi-zone or solo, or like 1 versus 1.
Oh, it's definitely gonna be multi.
You think so?
Yeah, I would imagine so. But that's the whole point of it. They're moving towards chaos. It's a move away from competitiveness. Like, it's not supposed to be competitive. It's supposed to just be like a fun way to end it, I think, is what they're going for.
Maybe it could be something like Singles Plus, where the monsters can attack anyone, but players versus players is like 1 versus 1. If that
Yeah, that
makes
would be
sense.
cool if there was some multi-worlds and then some single worlds. So yeah, the bosses PvP is 1v1, but PvM is multi. So say Grador and Kriara could both be on you at the same time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's more of a test of how good you are at surviving the PvM encounter as it ramps up. I think that would be more interesting.
Also, I
And
don't
while
know.
having that alongside a clan fight, like in the different worlds or whatever. But I don't know, it was ship sailed really.
I posted a video a few days ago where I talked about PVM Arena. Have you ever?
Yeah, from the Jagex Cups in like
Yeah,
2015.
yeah. So that is basically this. It's the same idea where like you can have Chad and all the wilderness bosses at the spawn at the same time, and I don't know. It sounds like a lot of fun, honestly. Just trying to tank everything at once, which like I kind of understand as well why PKers would be kind of upset about this because it becomes more about tanking rather than having good PvP skills at the end.
Yeah, the annoying thing from a PvP's perspective is this is the one thing that was competitive was Deadman, and then they're just taking that away after 2 years and making it super casual and fun friendly.
Have they thought about just making competition for just 1v1s? Use the same arena, but this time like everyone has max gear, everyone has max stats, max everything, and you register up for the tournament and it's just 1v1s until you find out the best winner. I feel like that could be a way to satisfy the PvPers as well, just to find out who's the best PK.
That's happened in the past, but that's just doomed now because the servers are they just die. But they're never going to take that risk again.
LAN tournaments? Question mark. Esports,
Yeah.
old school RuneScape? Question mark.
Yeah, the thing is though they've already explored that, and that's still on the table, but it's on a third party to organize is their stance on it really. Like
I wonder if you could get funding.
Cup, for example.
I wonder.
Yeah, you definitely could.
You think so?
Anyone, someone. If I went to Jagex and said I have a detailed plan of this tournament I want to run, they'd back it. I think. I'm pretty convinced they would. I think there is funding there, but no one wants to organize a tournament because it's so much work. And the people that are in a suitable place to do something like that, they just don't want to. They want to compete in it.
By the way, off topic again, but have you watched the Runescape speedrun cup?
Yeah. I watched all three. And that's what I mean. That's a great example of they're willing to work with people in the community to do stuff like that.
What did you think about it? Did you like it?
Yeah, I like it. I thought I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very good.
Okay.
What are you saying?
No, I
It.
watched it as well. And not only did I like it, but as someone like, I wouldn't say I'm a good PVMer, but like, for instance, the best I can do is 400 invocation rate right now. Like that's, I feel like that's above average, but that's not good enough to be like an elite PVMer. Like I can't even get the fan kit, but I learned so many new things about this game that I never knew before. These small little details that the elite PVMers use. Not only was it entertaining to watch, but I thought after playing for 18 years, I understand this game. Apparently I don't. I have no fucking idea how this game works. And these guys do. And all those small things, like I think someone was doing fight caves, and it was like I can't remember what the run was, like a 20-minute run, and they won by 1 tick. And all of those like 0.6 second timers, all of that matters. And it was so insane to watch like a 20-minute run and it just like came down to 0.6 seconds. It was kind of exciting. And
yeah, I'm in the same boat as well. I've done so much in RuneScape, but there's so much I don't know. There's like top like 0.0001% players. It's really crazy to think.
It's just great to like realize that, wait, this game I played my entire life, I actually don't know how it's played. Which but yeah, okay, let's get back to Deadman mode. We talked about combat brackets. So I want to know your thoughts on the combat brackets before we move on. I know I kind of fumbled there, but genuinely, I think my idea was better, where you do have like 5 worlds. Like, imagine making a level 49 defense pure.
I fully agree. It was, yeah.
Yeah, imagine making like a level 65 pure. Imagine making like a level 85 void range tank account and then just trying to win there instead of all being like level 126. I kind of understand why they want to do all at the same time because, it could get like kind of scuffed at the end. But I think like having unique combat brackets until the end is the way to go about it. That being said, what are your thoughts about the combat brackets? Do you like the idea? I mean, obviously, you participated in the last one as well, right?
My thoughts on the combat brackets are conditional on. I like them in theory, but it's a conditional on them managing the amount of worlds that are open at one time. Because Deadman, loses so much of what makes it good when there's 100 people on each world. And the combat brackets really exacerbate that issue because you spawn on day one. There are 5 combat brackets and five servers for each one. That's 25 worlds. There just aren't that many people playing Deadman. And they say every time that they're going to manage the worlds better, but they just never do. They never do. And that means that everyone's super spread out. 80 people logged into a world or something like 3 days in. It's like, that's just so sparsely populated. It doesn't have that busyness feeling that an MMO should have. So I don't like it that it exacerbates the population density issue. That's why I don't like them. I like them in theory. If there was literally one world in each combat bracket, I'd be a big fan of the brackets. But I know that's never going to happen.
Okay, let's move on to next topic, which is like the point system. Basically, Jagex are gonna bring back the system that is in the leagues as well and implement it into Deadman mode now. Like I mentioned before, we mentioned this a little bit, but this point system was actually used in Freshed Out Worlds, where I guess it literally had 0 use besides like being pretty numbers. But this time around, you can, like I mentioned, win real life money if you have the most amount of points, or at least chance to win that money. And you can get points by doing literally anything in the game, like loot scrolls, combat achievements, quests, PVMing, skilling, you name it. Like I mentioned, you can win the entire tournament by not participating in PvP at all. And all you really have to do is be good at tanking and do a lot of skilling and do a lot of PVMing. So do you think the point system is... I guess we already talked about this a little bit, but bring in more people this time around. Like I said, at the end of the day, there's a group of people who are just not willing to participate anything related to PvP. But at the same time, I'm looking at the point threshold right now. All you have to do is get Adamant tier, which is top 20%, and you already have a chance to win $1,000. Do you think that money is gonna be a motivator for players who haven't participated in Deadman before? And I guess the point system is there to boost that even further.
I think it's definitely a benefit and it is a draw to people. However, Deadman's so brutal that I think the main people that will be engaging and enjoying the point system are veteran Deadman players like me. I think it's super good. I think the breaches are the best thing about this Deadman mode. I think the points and how they work with the breaches is the second best thing about this Deadman mode. I think because I don't know if you've looked at the actual breakdown of how you earn the points, but you're not going to get too far unless you go into the breaches. So you get one, for example, let me just lay out an example here. At a breach, for doing damage to a breach boss, you get 1 point for every damage you do. So if you hit a 10, you get 10 points. Mm-hmm. Then let's compare that to if you get 1 quest point, you get 10 Deadman points. So for hitting a 10, you've completed a quest. If you Ruby Bolt spec 100, that's 10 quest points right there. So it's massively swayed towards the breaches. So hopefully they'll be populated and be a center of activity throughout the entire 3 weeks, which I'm pretty sure they will be. And that's amazing news.
I assume if you want to go for the win, you have to go for the breaches.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like there's no way you'll win unless you're like attending most of the breaches.
And if you go for the breaches, you have a risk of dying because everyone else is there as well.
Yeah, and that really increases that PvP loop. And then so also thinking about the breaches being super impactful, you'd want to have good weapons to do good DPS and be risking more. Good, that's all good stuff for the PvP game mode.
I assume range is gonna be the meta because it's a very cheap way to get good DPS.
I mean, it depends how the breaches are structured. What bosses are there, etc. Like you can't range Rex or something, can you? So,
I'm looking at the point. Yeah. I'm looking at the point totals right now, but you can like get a lot of points even without like ever leaving the bank, which is kind of insane to me in a PvP game mode. But I'm looking at scaling right now, like getting max level, which means max on all levels, which means I guess you do have to go out, but getting max level is almost 16,000 points. If you don't like PvP, you still have a chance.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, the problem is you're going to have to go out at some point and do thieving or something. But I'd say, yeah, if you just wanted to play it super safe and go around doing low risk in terms of you're just blackjacking a bandit or something like that to get 99 thieving. Like you're not risking anything there really, are you? But you're still earning a decent amount of points at a decent rate. I mean, not really. Honestly, it's so scaled by the breaches. I think about it, right? If you get 99 thieving, that's 600 points. That's doing 600 damage on a breach, which is like a couple of minutes of work.
That's true, yeah. And it happens 3 times a day, right?
Yeah.
So does that mean that technically you can go infinite with points. Like there's no maximum points you can get, right? If you go to all 3 breaches every day, and I mean it's not infinite, but it's like
Yeah,
there's no cap. Is what I'm
there's
trying
not like there's not an upper limit, no.
yeah. So it really does mean a lot that you're awake every 8 hours when the breach happens. Like that's where the winners get decided.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get rank 1 overall,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what that person will do, I imagine.
I mean, there is a good prize pool for top 25, so
Yeah,
five players out of the top
lottery, bro.
25 are gonna get $1,000.
Yeah, the one downside of the point system that I do want to touch on is that you will gain points faster if you swap in tons of money from 07 to get good gear to farm breach bosses or to buy supplies and then get your skills up really quickly, and that could really detract from how much people actually care about the points. I find myself, I'm the type of person that should really care about the points, but I don't, because I don't want to swap in bills of GP. In fact, I don't want to swap in GP. I want to have like that progression aspect. So that's, for me, a big negative of the point system. You're competing against people that are just going to pay to win, essentially.
Yeah, I agree with you. Where if you have billions of GP, you're definitely gonna get a head start.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna win.
I mean, you can't buy everything, right? I mean, you can buy the gear and everything else, but at some point, people are gonna catch up to you. It's just that it's a massive boost at the start where nobody has anything and you have millions of GP. But at the same time, like let's say you buy, like you swap GP, you want to buy armor, but if there is no armor in the game, then you have nothing to buy, right? It's just that, are you willing to, like, I don't know, spend 200 million OSRS GP to get a rune crossbow? Is that what you're gonna do just to get a head start at the breach while nobody else has it?
I think it's good, but it's got the downsides. I wish there was the option to play as an Iron Man and have separate high skills on this. That'd be like the dream.
Well,
for
with
me.
Iron Man, you have different problems, like then point of PvP just disappears, right? Because you can't.
I know, but like then you're just playing it for a survival game mode, just how the people played PvP hardcore Iron Mans and stuff like that.
Yeah,
which I think would be a super interesting dynamic, but it's not very mass appeal, super cutthroat. Like that's one of those SoloMission Dreamland updates that just isn't gonna be a thing.
You dream a lot, man. It's like,
Yeah.
with your completely brand new islands and PvP hardcore Iron Man. Okay, final thing I want to discuss with you, and I promise you this will all make sense soon. You already mentioned Sigils, but I want to tell you a story here. Do you know the Locust Riders in Sophonem?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so
underneath.
yeah, you go down the stairs to the dungeon. Basically, nobody goes there unless, I guess you have to complete a quest there or something like that. So in the previous Deadman tournaments, I think there was this method. You can like confirm if I'm right or wrong with Sigils, where
I think I know what you're gonna say.
Where if the NPC is over 100 combat levels, you have a chance to get more unique and more rare Sigil. And what you can basically do is go under Sophonem, and there is a Locust Rider there that is combat 106. And there was a way to trap that Locust Rider in a way where you take 0 damage. And since literally not a single other player will ever end up in the lowest basement of Sophonem dungeon, you can infinitely farm unique sigils, which are really rare from these Locust Riders, until you basically get tired and you sell all of them because they are tradable. So there was a few players in the previous Deadman who figured this out, and they made absolute bank farming sigils. And this time they're bringing sigils back, but instead I looked into this, that you get more rare unique sigils based on your own combat level rather than the combat level of the NPCs. I guess I should explain sigils overall before we get to questions. It's like they're basically like League versions of relics, right? You have multiple options like utilities, combat stats, skilling, and so much more. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I want to ask you this. You already mentioned this briefly, but what did you like and didn't like previously about sigils? And what are you like looking forward the most this time around?
Previously, I liked sigils because they shook up the meta and they were the focal point of Deadman Reborn. However, they were definitely too strong in situations. Like I made a video about one-hitting people with Darox where you could hit 151s. So And there was a point in time where you could stack a few on top of each other, and basically the best PKs in the game that would normally be running around in max was like, well, there's no point PKing in max because I can just get one shot. It's a careful path you've got to tread with them. I did like them in the last Deadman mode, but I think they just add a layer of complexity that doesn't necessarily need to be there in this one. But at the same time, I'm kind of on the fence. I'm like I neither love it or hate it that they've been added to this one. I'm excited to see what sigils there are, because in fact maybe I do like them being a Deadman. I don't know. I don't know. I'm undecided whether I'm for or against.
It does seem very clear that they're doing the League's approach to Deadman mode, because they kind of saw how successful. I don't want to put Deadman mode out, but it seems that Leagues is the successful thing out of the two game modes. But I also feel
part of it is to do with Deadman's been released like 25 times.
Yeah, that's another thing.
League 25 ain't getting played anywhere near as much.
Who knows? Maybe it's gonna be the most era. Maybe it's gonna be the most successful one. You don't know, man.
Yeah, we're in the golden era of leagues right now. I think one thing, a lot of people have come to this game within the last few years, since like 2018, but people really underestimate how popular Deadman was in 2015-16. It was incredibly popular. You can go back and look on old videos. It's just swarming with people.
Don't worry. I remember the Wook's lobster incident, man. That was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life, man. Dude won with lobsters, man. How crazy is that, man?
Yeah. But like, it's been solved over the years, and it's just it's fundamentally problems of sweaty people versus casuals, and it's just I don't know, I think it only in my heart of hearts it only really works when everyone's being competitive and everyone's in there, like the old 1 week tournaments on One World.
Yeah. I completely understand this from a perspective of a PKer as well. Like, not a single PKer wants to get their rune crafting level up in order to contest with others, right? But that's what you kind of have to do during this Deadman mode. You need to do skilling. Like, obviously, like you mentioned, breaches are the #1 priority, but whenever breach is not happening, you need to do other stuff as well to be competitive. And if you want to win the prize pool, like you mentioned, there's going to be 5 worlds, there's going to be 5 clans, but between those 5 clans, they only get $5,000. And if you want to actually win money like in previous Deadmans, you need to do skilling, you need to do questing, you need to do achievement tiers, you need to do PVMing. And I feel like if you're a PKer, you most likely don't want to do that.
I think you're overestimating how much the sort of clan sweaty PKs care about the points and stuff and the prizes and things.
Oh.
Yeah, like I had a discussion with people in my clan yesterday, and it literally wasn't even mentioned on like the key points of like the points is very much for PvE type players and to attract new people to the game mode. I don't think PKers are going to be farming for points very much at all, because they'll be making money by killing people and then swapping the GP out, and they just like the high risk reward nature in fighting and stuff.
I see. So most PKers aren't gonna go for the win, which is getting points instead.
I think barely anybody will be going for the win with points. I can't lie.
You're looking at one over here.
You're going for it.
I'm going for top 25, man. You have no idea.
Are you still gonna be going on track for it when you lose all your shit?
Yeah, because I'm a smart player and I don't lose stuff.
Okay. Yeah. But that's the thing. So like, coming from leagues, like, you're the perfect target market for the points, right? And you're not a Deadman veteran. You're not a pro PKer.
No.
So that's why they're such a good thing, because they do encourage more people like you to play it. But I'm not sure how many people are in that situation. Well, it's to be seen, I think.
I have watched basically all Deadman since the beginning, but I'm gonna be honest with you, this is my first one. Like, I spectate a lot because I just like I mentioned it before, like, old school Runescape esports is a meme, but with all of these EVscape tournaments that he hosts, all of this Deadman, I really enjoy this kind of stuff. I love spectating that because it's so much better than, like, let's say going through a live stream and seeing like farmers do another gauntlet run or something like that. Like, that's just not the content I like. I'm not saying it's a bad content, but just like watching someone play Iron Man mode for the 100th time doing the exact same quest.
There are levels of excitement to
that's just not exciting, but that's my personal opinion. So when something like Deadman or something like Leagues or something like EVscape host event comes up, I definitely want to watch it because it's so different and unique, and it's actually exciting for me. So I'm familiar with Deadman, but yes, this is gonna be my very first time actually participating. And I agree on you that I can mule money and I can swap money, but I'm not gonna do any of that because I do want to achieve all of that myself. I do want to get that feeling of losing my freaking bank to some guy who calls me dog shit. And yeah, I want to experience that all myself. And the point system is literally the only reason why am I gonna do that, because I saw those dragon tiers and I was like, top 1% baby, here I come. And they even put like prize pool behind that, which means I don't even have to be good at the final day. I just have to be good throughout the tournament, right? And that's it. And that's what I'm going for. So
Yeah. I think top 25 would definitely be competitive.
oh
But
yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure.
You'd have a good shot.
But
though.
they don't know that I have weaponized autism and 18 hours of playtime per day. So jokes on them.
Yeah, like, I'm thinking. Hopefully, I'll be finishing in the top 25 without concentrating on it like crazy.
Yeah.
I'll be going to breaches, but at the same time, I kind of want to kill other people at breaches rather than kill the bosses. I don't know. I'll do a mixture. I think.
Yeah,
We'll
there's a heavy debate there because if you don't do the breaches, you're missing out on so many points. But if you do breaches, that means others can PK you. So there's this like dilemma, I guess. You don't know what to pick, you know. I realize I'm like not the best picker, but despite that, I think I can still make this work.
Yeah, I definitely agree with some smart thinking and a brief plan and things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything to add for final thoughts before we call it a day here? Anything about Deadman mode? Anything about leagues?
No, I mean Deadman's cemented in. I hope they're open to feedback on leagues though, because yeah, I just think there's the opportunity to make it better.
The thing is, it is what, like 5 months away, so there's a lot of time to talk it through. Right now, they just announced it that it is coming, but we haven't really heard about details. We heard that the relic system is coming back, the points are coming back, the last recall is coming back, you know, all those overall picture, but the details is where the sauce is gonna be, I think.
But I'm super excited because it's been 2 years since we've had this stuff, and I've literally built my channel off the back of all this.
Me too. Like,
I've been desperate for those.
Not a lot of people.
You started in leagues, didn't you, or something?
Not a lot of people know this, but I actually started my YouTube channel purely based off Leagues 3, which was in January, 18 months ago, where I started. I made my first video and I got 1,000 subscribers in like 8 weeks from 0 or something like that. Less than that, 6 weeks, and it was kind of insane. And
it's because you were doing that thing where you were talking about the league before it dropped, like strategies and stuff.
Yes.
Because I watched some of them.
yeah. I sometimes look back at it, I'm like, oh my god, what was happening there, man? But I guess that's for all content creators. Okay, so I have one final question for you, and it's this. Do you think game modes will be the future of old school RuneScape, or did we just kind of hit the jackpot by getting both of these Deadman mode and leagues pretty much at the same time? Like, do you see this happening every year going forward, or should we just take granted for what we have right now?
I think we should be grateful because I think we're past. It's really hard to say this, but I think we're kind of past the golden era of game modes because they didn't do them for 2 years. They sort of like put it on hold. I know they did Group Iron Man and Fresh Start. I don't think they'll ever stop doing them, but it's hard for me to say that we're still in the golden era because there's been a lot of versions of things and they're really dragging their feet out over keeping up a decent pace with releasing them. And they're literally recycling one already.
Do you think Jagex should hire like they did with Manked, but for leagues as well, where they hire 1 or 2 developers just to work on leagues every year? Do you think that could be a solution?
I don't think, no, not necessarily. I think they've got strength in and depth in the old school team. The thing is, the team's very capable, but they just take feedback from everyone and then make the best decision. So that ends up leaving someone like me who's way too invested in a certain type of play in the game sometimes a bit like, well, this isn't the best way to do something, but there's a decision behind everything. Like, I think the thing is, when you go to Jagex, you realize that so much more is going into it all than you think from the outside. Like, anyone that's been to Jagex, like, I don't know, it's this, they're way more on the ball than you think they are, I think.
Yeah, we just see the final product, which is completed.
Yeah.
The reason why I brought that adding an extra developer who works on leagues is because The reason why we had a 2-year break is because the developers just didn't have a time to make a new leaks, right? That was the entire reason why we skipped last year. So
Yeah, I mean, it's just a case of there are priorities, right? Right. Should we just hire more developers so more stuff comes faster? I'm kind of happy with the pace of the updates in the game. I don't know about you, but
yeah, me
I
too.
think too much,
100%,
too quick is
100%.
like.
Okay, well, if you don't have anything else to add, I'm gonna call it a day here.
Sounds good to me.
This was a lot of fun. I honestly, genuinely, I want to see if like people enjoyed us talking about this, and if there's like a lot of good feedback on this, we should do it again after the Deadman tournament is over and I have my $1,000.
Yeah, no dragon trophy though.
No dragon trophy. Imagine if they do add trophies to Deadman. That would be hilarious, man.
That would get people playing. I mean, loads of Deadman players have wanted that for ages, but
I mean, it's another discontinued item, right? I wonder how much those discontinued items are gonna bite Jagex in the ass in the future, because they did like promise a long time ago that it's not gonna be another like party hat scenario, even though party hats are tradable and these are just cosmetic untradeable items, but still, you know, they just add a lot of value to the account forever.
I mean, I think it takes like a long time, but yeah, I mean, they're untradeable. I don't mind it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, me too.